And I'm recording.
Yep.
Okay. So, hello and welcome to another episode of the Outer Heaven Tubecast. I am one of your hosts, Brazzle, Tony Brazzle, formerly known as Brazzle the Gamer. And with me I have Nate Rowe.
What's up? I was wondering. I was like, maybe I'm gonna say my name. Maybe he's gonna say my name. Ooh, it's exciting. Sweet.
Oh, see what happens. Got to keep you on your toes. All right, so we have decided that this week we want to talk about movies that are based off of video games. And this is a topic that I think a lot of people like to say, hey, all these movies are garbage. And yeah, they kind of are, but I think we're going to go with more of a twist, as, you know, we're not going to say this movie is garbage or this movie is garbage. Well, I mean, I'm going to say this movie is garbage, but we kind of want to talk about, obviously, first one's the movies that we don't like. But then we're going to talk about the movies that we do like. And they might be garbage movies, but some of them are actually pretty fun to watch, right?
Indeed. There's and I think we also should mention that we're not going to just stick to movies. We will talk a little bit about some series that both have happened and will be upcoming as well. So it's kind of just it's kind of just games crossing into other mediums, and or vice versa. You know, where there was a movie or TV show and then it crossed into video games. So we're kind of just talking crossovers in general, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So Let's get right into it. What is the one movie game crossover that you absolutely hate, like you disdain with a passion?
Okay, so back in the 90s, it had to have been the 90s. Okay, the Street Fighter movie came out, the original Street Fighter movie, and that's not the one I dislike. I've got a lot of nostalgia for that movie. I remember putting that movie on and watching it over and over and over again. But you know, how could they, you know, coming from an objective viewpoint, it wasn't a great movie. So how could they do worse? Well, they pulled it off with Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li. So I don't know what pushed me to watch this movie. I watched it over the last week because I knew we were going to be doing this as a topic. I was like, you know what? I kind of want to give this a chance. I want to see just how bad it is. So I went in with really low expectations. And usually when I go into a movie with low expectations, I usually can still kind of enjoy it and find some value in it. Well, Street Fighter Legend of Chun-Li is just a giant turd. The acting is bad. The special effects for its time are bad. I mean, like, it looks like bad green screen most of the time. I mean, I remember there's one point where Balrog shoots a rocket into a building and the building explodes, but it just looks like somebody used After Effects and put some generic explosion effect.
Green screen back then? Like, was that? I mean, because
Legend of Chun-Li was like a 2006 movie.
Oh, okay.
Or something.
Well, then they should have been by that point.
Yeah,
I was thinking this was a '90s movie. I have not seen that. I've seen the original way back, and that one was You know, I mean, come on, it's at best. But like, I've never seen the one you're talking about, so I wasn't sure when that was done. But yeah, in 2006, like Matrix had already came out by then. Yeah. Get your shit together. There's some better special effects out there.
Yeah, I mean, especially whenever you're putting this movie out on the big screen. I mean, this whole movie, top to bottom, acting, special effects, story, everything, was ripped straight off from like a sci-fi original movie. I mean, it was not good. I mean, it was like Sharknado levels of bad.
But at least Sharknado. Tara Reid.
Yeah, Sharknado is at least fun, you know.
No, it's
but
not.
This was,
no.
I've actually never seen it. I know a lot of people like it because they said it was fun.
It's just horrible.
But yeah, I mean, this movie is just not good. Oh, fuck my...
Yeah, it's, I mean, okay, so mine, I would probably have to, and I know I'm going to get a bunch of hate, and if you want to hate me, please, by all means, put it in the comments and tell me what a dummy I am. But I never got into the Resident Evil movies. I thought they were. Now I should preface this with I was not very big into the games either. So it's not that I disliked the movie because they went off script. It's not I disliked the movie because the characters were wrong or blah 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 blah. I just thought they were really lame sci-fi movies, like / action thrillers. I didn't like. I know I saw one of them. Wasn't Chris Tucker in one of them? I want to say Chris Tucker was in one of them. Anyway, I remember seeing one of them and just being like, yeah, this is dumb. This is dumb. I don't want to ever watch this again. They've since come on Netflix and all that kind of shit, and I'm like, nope, no, I'm good. I'm good on those.
I have never been a Resident Evil fan myself, but I actually kind of enjoy the movie in like a this is a fun train wreck kind of way. But like, see, like with Legend of Chun-Li, the train wreck was everybody's trying to be too serious. The movie tried to take itself too seriously.
Yeah.
Resident Evil kind of doesn't take itself too seriously, I guess. But I mean, I can definitely get your I definitely understand where you don't like it. I mean, they are great movies. They have to be the most popular video game to movie crossovers though, because they've made so many of them.
Well, I mean, yeah, like they were popular. I think they kind of like a lot of franchises we see out there have just progressively gone downhill. You know what I mean? When it first came out in the first one, like because I got to be super honest. Yeah, it's been so long since I've seen them that I'm trying to remember, because I know I haven't seen all of them. So I should also say that, like, I haven't seen all of them. I just remember seeing one of them and being like, yeah, this is dumb. Don't need to see anymore.
Yeah.
But I would assume maybe with the first one, they probably got some things right, or at least enough of a action thrill ride that people were like, yeah, let's see another one, and then they did another one.
Yeah.
It was the Pirates of the Caribbean effect, kind of. You know what I'm saying?
You also got to wonder how well they did overseas, because you know how movies are these days, where if it's got enough action and enough special effects in it, they're going to do well in the overseas markets.
Yeah,
and then they make sequels because of that. Who knows? I think the first one I actually remember really enjoying, and then I just kept watching them. And like every time one would come out, I'd watch it, and I think the last one I actually saw, they were on a battleship, and I can't remember which one that one was. And I think there might have been one or two movies that have come out since then. But
in fairness, the Star Trek movies all went down, so it's a progression. I really think. I mean, like it, for in writers' defense, eventually you just run out of shit. Like, eventually you just, you've done so much and you can only do so much with a franchise. And it's, I feel bad for people who are in the position of they got to keep pumping out material just to keep the masses happy. It's like it's a vicious cycle. But I guess moving away from the ones that we like super love, this is the meatier part of the conversation that we had planned, because we both want to talk about ones that were in the eyes of critics train wrecks, but we loved them still. So give me your, like, this one was absolute garbage, you even know it's garbage, like watching it today, but you still just love it. It's got a fondness in your heart. What's your biggest example there?
Well, one of the biggest examples, and I know you agree with me because we've discussed it before, is the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Oh, yes.
I love that movie. I will watch it over and over again. It is a train wreck. It is not great, but Bob Hoskins, man, that guy that guy's just a good actor. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's sad that we don't have him around anymore for sure.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it would have been really cool to see him get old enough to be the old grandfather type character in a lot of movies. Yep. You know what I mean? But if you don't know who we're talking about, it's the guy, one of the main characters from Who Framed Roger Rabbit. He was in, he was in a bunch of stuff. But the Super Mario Brothers like movie as a whole, if you're talking lore, if you're talking graphics, if you're talking all that stuff, pretty fucking horrible, like pretty bad, you know what I mean? But it I don't know, man. There's something.
It's fun.
It is. It's fun.
Movie.
It's fun. Exactly. Like it makes some of it makes no sense. Never once in a Mario game have we ridden in cars that were like the city that they went to. Like a lot of it just made no sense and had nothing to do with Mario.
Like all the cars had the electrical things on them, so they were like running around like
I still don't understand that. I don't
bumper cars. It's like they were bumper cars.
Exactly. But it was like that's their real car, and that still just doesn't process in my brain because you can't. But anyway,
see, I think the set design and like the lore and everything that they built into that movie, I thought it was great. I think there's a lot there that they just kind of came up with for, because they didn't really have a whole lot of material to work with for a live action Mario movie.
Oh, for sure. It was going to be hard.
Especially at the time.
Yeah, it was going to be hard to translate because at the time, Mario was still very much 2D. It was going to be very hard to translate that into a movie, especially where Mario is like. I would have loved to see the board meeting where they're discussing this movie, like the thoughts of this movie, because like how you could take something just very colorful and kid friendly, and they tried to give it a very dark, weird undertone of you're going to this new, seedier New York. Like, this was back in the time where New York was getting the rep of, like, you're going to get mugged in any alley.
Yeah.
And so they were like, okay, let's do that times 10. Where, you're now going to this place, and literally one of the first scenes is, like, they when they first get to this new world in this new city, they come up on this little sweet grandma, and they're like, hey, lady, how do we get somewhere? And she's like, oh, are you boys new around here? Give me your money! Like, it was fucking great, you know what I mean? But, it was a really weird decision. And like I said, I get it in the sense of, they couldn't just have Mario running around jumping on these small Goombas that didn't make any sense. By the way, I would love to say that if you're a Donald Trump hater, go watch that movie. If you've never seen it, go watch the movie, because Koopa in the movie is Donald Trump to a T. Like,
oh yeah, it's all about real estate and stuff.
Oh,
like, it's a real estate battle.
Like, not only real estate battle. I would bet money that the actor who played Koopa, and I'm blanking on his name right now, but
Dennis Hopper.
Okay, yeah, Dennis Hopper. I would fucking bet money he studied Donald Trump's mannerisms and stuff like that before doing this. Like, that's literally, he's to a T, like Donald Koopa. Like, that's basically what he was going for. And it was, so if you don't like Trump, definitely go watch the movie. But there were some things in the movie that, again, it doesn't make sense, had nothing to do with Mario, but it was a fun movie. It was just fun by the time you're done watching it. Another, Bob Hopkins and John Leguizamo is another. John Leguizamo has been in so many comedy things that I think the two of them together, I think that's one of the reasons the movie really worked, is because their chemistry together as the brothers really kind of made sense for the time period, and
they were almost an odd couple. Luigi was so young and
exactly,
and he was full of energy, and he was full of vim and vigor, youthful vigor, and then Mario was kind of like a veteran. He was kind of He's kind of crotchety. He was kind of like grumpy and had seen it all already.
Yeah, he was the wiser one who, like, you know what I mean? But John Leguizamo was the one who was ready to take risks and chances. Like, the moment where he, like, jumps out and he's like, hey, look, Mario, I'm flying. Then he jumps, and then, like, he realizes he's being held by a chain, and he's like, wait, Mario, don't do it. Yeah. Some of those moments were great. And, I mean, like, there's some things that they did in the movie that were just horrible. The Goombas fucking didn't resemble a Goomba in the slightest.
They were trying to make them dinosaur things.
It was really
bizarre.
Weird. But like the way they kind of did a realistic Yoshi, I thought that was awesome. Like Yoshi was by far my favorite. I mean, you know, like every movie has that little creature that you're like, oh, I fucking want that as a pet. That was Yoshi. Like Yoshi was. I thought their interpretation of Yoshi was pretty spot on. If he was going to look real, you know, he was just missing his saddle. That was about it. You know what I'm saying? But you know, like Mario is a good example of a movie that's just, in the grand scheme of things, is just horrible, but. You know, it holds a special place in our heart. You know what I mean? It really does. Do you have any other examples of ones like that?
Oh yeah.
Okay, go for it.
Doom.
Yes.
I just watched Doom for the first time 2 nights ago, and I was dreading watching it. I was like, "This is going to be terrible." I'm watching it for this podcast. I don't really want to watch it. And like the first 20 minutes or so, I was like, okay, this is kind of boring. It does start off pretty slow. Mm-hmm. But then it just, oh my God, it ramps up. And it's just a damn good action movie. I mean, there's just like a lot of really cool points where, you know, they're fighting monsters and they're I guess there's like some betrayal stuff that happens near the end.
It almost comes off as like an Aliens movie.
Yeah, exactly.
In the sense that there's this tactical team who's all badasses, and they go in and they're way in over their head. But
it almost felt like a meshing of like Alien 3 and Event Horizon.
I've actually never seen Event Horizon.
Oh, yeah. I think eventually you probably need to see that. It's pretty good. But yeah, they all like you know, Sarge, played by The Rock. Mm-hmm. He kind of loses it near the end. He kind of slowly loses his mind after his squad mates are killed, and Jesus, God, it's a 10-year-old movie.
Yeah, no, I know. It had a lot of little details that I liked, like when they first were getting in their ship to like get out, and everybody's grabbing their gun, and it's like saying their name.
It says their names. Yeah.
Code names the kid, and the kid's like,
it's
cheesy,
but it's cheesy, but it's fun.
Yeah, it establishes who they are. You know, like the rest of the movie, you're only going to hear them by their code names. You know, there was enough in the movie that like they made the Pinky reference. I didn't even really know. See, I'm not a huge Doom gamer. Like I may have played it back in the day, and I never really it was never one that was like super fond in my heart. I didn't hate it or anything, but I never had fond memories of it, and so I didn't really get the Pinky reference. But I was later told that that's like a main character in the games. And stuff.
Yeah, it's like a main monster, and I think they actually took his appearance from Doom 3 more than the original Doom games, which was still a cool touch, because I think around the same time this movie came out, Doom 3 had been out, and so that was like the most up to date reference they had. It might have been, I don't know how closely they were released without looking it up right now, but it was pretty close. So they used some of those references, and I think they did a pretty good job. I think one thing with like video game movies like this is, like if you go into them expecting this like amazing, well written, just incredibly great movie, you're going to be disappointed. The way you need to approach movies like this is like, just, you know, go into it thinking, okay, this is not going to be a great movie, but like point, have fun with it. Like try to find the references that they make to the games, and just kind of realize that it's just a popcorn. It's just going to be a popcorn flick.
Yeah.
Unless it's Legends of Chun-Li, which is a terrible piece of trash.
Yeah,
that needs to be erased from history.
Some of the older ones are going to be a little harder to swallow, just because they didn't have, like in the case of Mario, that was before green screens. That was before a lot of the,
Well, they did have green screen in the Mario movie. It's just you can tell.
Well, they had graphics, but like, did they really use green screen back then? Because when I say green screen, I mean the technique of actually like recording in front of a green screen and shit.
I mean, they've been. I mean, green screen's been used for years and years and years. It's just that. Like, you don't see... They weren't doing the same thing with Mario Brothers that they're doing with, like, the Star Wars movies now, where it's, like, a whole stage that's filled with green that they fill in later.
Uh-huh.
No, they'll put them in front of a screen or something and make some backgrounds. Like, that whole effect where Mario's getting sucked into the other world through the meteor. And everything, where the face, his face disappears and everything, and they have to use green screen for that.
Okay,
it's just very obviously bad green screen.
Well,
it's
see,
very
that's why I
obviously
thought they
aged
just
green
didn't
screen.
use green screen at the time.
No,
they
were using it,
because if you were just trying to put graphics on top, because to me, as a graphics person, it looked like they were just putting graphics on top of what was already there.
Nope, it's just that bad. It's just that bad.
Anyway, we should also mention there's some honorable mentions that I have. We don't have to go real deep into them, but I do remember seeing the Prince of Persia movie.
I do too.
It was awesome.
Okay.
I thought it was awesome. Like to me, I don't know much about Prince of Persia. I guess that's another thing that's really going to contribute to how you view certain movies and certain stuff. Because I never really played Prince of Persia, so I don't really know much about the lore. I don't know much about all that stuff. And when I saw the movie, I thought the movie was pretty awesome. Like, it came across as a...
it's kind of an adventure flick.
For sure. There was some, like, adventure-y, questy type stuff that was going on and that they're trying to save.
Not to get too political, though. I still have to wonder what their decision was, or what their thought process was when casting the main character as Jake Gyllenhaal, a white dude, for a movie called Prince of Persia.
Because white Hollywood, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I don't know, man. Yeah, I mean, it's the same reason as, no.
It wasn't a bad movie by any means. It was actually pretty decent.
It was a good movie, but you're very right. Let's find the whitest person we can find to play a Persian dude. It made kind of no sense. But another one I'd like to throw up there that people of the franchise are probably going to be mad at me for, but World of Warcraft, just Warcraft, was an awesome movie, I thought.
The problem I had with Warcraft was the pacing, but I think like the design and how closely they stuck to the story and everything was really freaking cool. I'd really like to watch that again. It's been a while.
Well, actually, man, like I watched a pretty good few videos on what they got right and what they got wrong with the lore, and a lot of stuff that they didn't actually happen, but it ended the same way, if that makes any sense. So they changed they changed a lot of the events, like so a good example in the movie Warcraft, Gul'dan, who is a very big character in the Warcraft series, he like has hundreds of these Draenei caged, and in the very beginning of the movie, to open the portal to let the orcs through, he like kills hundreds of these Draenei all at once, sucking their spirit power from them. Okay, in the actual lore, he used one. It was one little girl Draenei who he ended up using. So they really beefed that up for the movie, just to show what a piece of shit Gul'dan was. You know what I mean? Like little things like that they got wrong, but it's still.
It's more of like a artistic.
Exactly. They were really just trying to build up in a small, short period of time what a piece of crap this dude was. You know, they got some other things wrong with like. They made Gamora Garora. They made her way too hot. Like she was not that fucking hot. Okay, she was like scarred up. Like she really did look. She didn't look like a human, but she didn't look completely like an orc either. Like it was. She really was a half breed, and that was part of her story. But they made her like super fucking hot in the movie, and it's like, why? Why is she so much obviously hotter than every other fucking orc that we see? Like, no, you can't say that the human part that she got was just fucking slamming hot. Yeah, that banging. You know, like you cannot tell me that like that's how it happened. But anyway. Overall, the movie was really great. I loved a lot of the effects. I loved that, you know, like seeing Khadgar as a younger guy in the story now. If you play World of Warcraft, Khadgar is very old and he's wise and he's been around the block. And in the movie, this is supposed to be pre-World of Warcraft and stuff like that. So this is way back in actual Warcraft lore when it was still just
Warcraft 1, orcs and humans.
When it was just an RTS, So you know, it's really it was a great movie to watch. Like as far as it's not the Blizzard movie I want. I want a Blizzard movie that's straight up just their CGI, because some of the intros and some of the cutscenes we've gotten
that would be really cool.
Dude, people have been calling it for
an animated movie. Yeah, they should just do an animated movie.
Yeah, people have been wanting it for years and years, man. And Blizzard they're very good at making those cutscenes, and I think that, you know, it's probably at this point keep them wanting by only giving them 5-minute clips for each expansion. You know what I'm saying? But
no, they need. Oh man, that one that. Sorry.
Which one?
The one they did recently for the new Warcraft expansion was so fucking cool. They used the Metallica "For Whom the Bell Tolls" in it too.
What? I don't remember.
Yeah,
maybe that was just a trailer or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it was the trailer.
Okay.
They used the Metallica "For Whom the Bell Tolls" in it. I was like, oh god, now I want to play World of Warcraft again. And it's been years since I've played World of Warcraft, but I mean it was like, it hasn't been that long. Anyway. But yeah, I mean their stuff is great, and all that Overwatch stuff that they did. I mean, I don't play Overwatch, but I mean I've seen some of those shorts that they've done for Overwatch, and people eat those up.
Mm-hmm.
They would make a killing off of.
Oh yeah, they could. Like when I was really into Overwatch, I had said that many times that they could have made their own series, just based off Overwatch, and that would have been really. I think it would have been awesome, because they created these characters and these if you know anything about Overwatch actually is the name of a team that's supposed to be kind of guarding the earth and from evil stuff, and it would have been like a superhero show, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but I think they could have done that pretty easily. I think it's really just I don't think, even though Blizzard is rolling in cash, and I think they could do that if they wanted to, I really think it boils down to they just want to give you enough to love it. Like they don't want to overdo it, and I kind of respect that decision. I do respect the reserved part of it, where it's like we're not going to oversell this and over push our material, because then people will get bored. So I do respect that. We are getting a little pushed on time, because we do one thing we want to do on the podcast is keep it to a nice half hour or so. We want to get you on your way, and then you can hit us up in the comments and stuff. But really quickly, we do want to mention that Telltale Games, is sad to say, is closing down. It came out the other day. They put out a giant press release saying that they had pretty much laid off all but about 25 employees. And that almost all their projects are basically going under, that they just haven't.
I can't believe that they're not even going to finish Walking Dead.
Yeah, I mean, well, Yeah. Okay. So let's just quickly within the next 10 minutes or so. Let's break it down, like, because we were kind of talking about this in chat, and this is totally my opinion, and I'm not saying this to down any of those guys. Like they had some good teams, they really did. My thing with it was I feel like in the recent years, Telltale, they were giving us games that nobody asked for. You know what I'm saying? Like the Minecraft story mode. Like, what the fuck? Who gives a shit? Like, nobody plays Minecraft to nobody plays Minecraft for the story. Like, the reason you play Minecraft is just to build shit, right?
Well, I think that's aimed more at the kids, and I think there are a lot of kids that are into that. But
okay, well then let's take it to Borderlands, because Borderlands is not meant for kids.
No, like, Borderlands, yeah, that's a great example.
So let's go with Borderlands. And the reason somebody plays Borderlands, you play because you're looking to get that next epic gun, you're looking to get that, fight that next boss, and then there's those witty, like if you played Borderlands 2, one of your favorite characters, or least favorite characters, depending on who you are, will be that Tiny Tina chick who is just fucking crazy and says some of the funniest jokes in the game, I think. Those witty one-liners and stuff, like, that's why you play Borderlands. You move for the fast-paced action. You play for the fast-paced action, you play for the guns and all that stuff. And to say, okay, we're going to take away most of that, and we're just going to focus on the story. Like, it's like, what? That's not why we play Borderlands. Like, I'm sure, like, Telltale Games can tell great stories. They can. But at the same time, when you're reaching for the stars with games, I made the point yesterday that I think one of the reasons Walking Dead and, like, Wolf Among Us, I think one of the reasons that those games did so well is because at the time, at least, there have been Walking Dead games that have come out since, but at the time there was nothing to compare it to. And at the time, Walking Dead was in its height of popularity. They were in, maybe season 2 or 3. Like it was really early on when they started doing this. So it was a great time to do it. And, I should say that even before they got popular, more popular, I should say, with that, they had a bunch of great games even before their Walking Dead series. The Back to the Future.
Back to the Future, Jurassic Park.
I loved Back to the Future.
See,
like, it was awesome.
The problem, another one of their problems is that they didn't really evolve. Mm-hmm. Like, every single one of their games is the same thing. It's
essentially
quick time events. Mm-hmm. Yeah, quick time events and getting through story and stuff. But, they could have done so much more. Like, say, with the... let's take the Game of Thrones one, for instance. Apparently, it wasn't very good. From what I've heard from several people.
I disagree. I loved it, but go ahead.
Okay. Anyway, what they could have done was added some RPG elements to it. Maybe have a little bit of combat, a little bit of experience point system and stuff like that. Because you look at an older adventure game developer in Sierra. Sierra Games. They did King's Quest and they did Quest for Glory. Well, and they did some other stuff, similar Space Quest, some other things too. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't always just the same type of game. Like from King's Quest, it was, a lot of point and click, a lot of, not really at that time. It was more look around the screen and type in what you want. It's like, go look at tree, that kind of thing. But with Quest for Glory, they actually added some RPG elements in there. They gave you some equipment to equip, and then they put some battles in there and a little bit of some experience, point system and everything like that. And it still retained a lot of that initial exploration and adventure elements from King's Quest, but they added upon it. Mm-hmm. And Sierra did very good for a very long time. But with the Telltale Games, from what I understand, they all pretty much play the exact same way.
Most of them, I mean, like, there will be moments, most do play the same way. In general, yes, you're very correct. They don't deviate from their format, I guess. Their kind of outline on how characters should move and interactable objects and like you said, the sequences where you're just tapping a button to avoid something. That's some of their core mechanics for sure on their games. I would just go to say, like with Game of Thrones, I personally loved it just from the sense of when you watch Game of Thrones, the show. You're left in suspense because you don't know what's going to happen. Like, they've made it very clear that they kill off good, extremely popular characters. It's one of these things, and I guess this just goes to kind of TV and movies in general. You cannot control as the viewer what happens, right? Unless you're watching America's Got Talent, there's no way you can influence what is happening. You know what I'm saying? But when playing the game, I had this sense of I was in the story of Game of Thrones, and I actually could make decisions that I thought was best based off what I knew of these characters. Like, you end up dealing with Ramsay Bolton, you end up dealing with Marjorie, you end up dealing with a bunch of key characters. Even though the story of Game of Thrones, if you haven't played the game and you want to know what it's about a little bit, really quickly, you're playing it's almost a Stark-like family. Like, they are kind of like the noble family, I guess, but they're not the Starks. They're called I forget what their family name is, but they guard these trees that make the best shields, that make the best, like, it's called ironwood. And so I really like that they kind of gave this lore and feel to, I think it was the Foresters, were their name or something, House Forrester, but anyway, I personally loved it just because I felt like I was a part of the story. I was meeting and seeing characters I had seen from the show who they had actually got the real voice actors to come in and do, so it kind of made it even that much more real to me. I think Game of Thrones was one that they actually did well on, in this sense of, it was a good translation, because Game of Thrones is all story. I don't know that I'd want to play a Game of Thrones game where I'm Jon Snow slashing down White Walkers. Like, I just don't know if that would be appealing to me. You know what I mean? But playing through a storyline and playing through something, I think that was ripe for the picking. But that kind of goes into maybe another one of their bad business decisions, and somebody brought this up in a chat yesterday, and me and Tony don't know anything about buying IPs and properties and stuff like that. We're not in the business like that. However, you can generally assume that's got to be super expensive to buy into properties like Game of Thrones, to use their name and IP and stuff. Walking Dead, like, I'm sure a lot of their money went into trying to soak up these valuable IPs that they were trying to base their games off of, and it's just unfortunate, man. Like, the whole reason I brought this up was, it's sad to see any game developer go away, and it's sad to see anybody get laid off, but Telltale has been around for a while. If you go on Steam right now and try to buy their library, you're going to get like 57 games. That's not a real number. It's probably nowhere near that, but you're going to get a shit ton of games. They've been around for a while. They put out a Jurassic Park game back in the day. Like, they've been out for a good bit, and it's sad to see them go, man. Like, even though I didn't really like a lot of their games that came out recently. I still thought I was really waiting for Wolf Among Us 2. I loved the first Wolf Among Us. It was such a great game. It's just so sad. I have that
I have that on my Steam library. I'm still waiting to play it.
Yeah, it's so sad to see him go, man. They knew they had really great writers. They did. They had some really great people working at their studio. So I somehow doubt that any of them are going to hear this, but if you do, guys, I hope you land on your feet. I hope you guys got some other great projects coming up. It's just shitty.
I'm sure they will. I mean, you see all these other game developers tweeting out, "Hey, we heard the news. Come apply for us." So, like, I don't think they'll be wanting for work for very long.
Yeah, no, probably not. But it's still sad to hear that for sure. So anyway. Okay. Well, you want to go ahead and close us out? Tell us where people can find us now and where they can find us in the future.
Well, you can always find us on Twitter. At Browselspective and at The Real Shepherb. Also, we are on YouTube currently. I have not gotten the actual podcast stuff going yet. That should be forthcoming. I just have to find a place to pay for space and everything. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. But eventually, if you're listening to this on YouTube right now, eventually we will be on a podcast network.
I think we're going to end up trying to get it on like iTunes and Stitcher and stuff. If possible, so.
All the usual suspects.
But for sure, you know what? In the comments, please let us know what your favorites are, what your least favorites are, honorable mentions. Like, we want to hear your guys' stuff. Speaking of which, really quick, did you have anything from Twitter? You said you had pulled up some stuff that people had said.
Yeah, we had a couple.
Just really quick, what's give me one or two, just so we're mentioning our awesome viewers and listeners.
Viewers and listeners who have not yet listened.
Viewers who are viewing a looped screen right now, because that's all you can view.
Here we go. Sorry, I'll cut all that out. I know Raiho Magnifico. He said he wanted to say something cool like Final Fantasy VII Advent Children, but if I'm being honest with myself, it's Mortal Kombat, and that is a great selection because Mortal Kombat is a really fun movie.
Yeah, that's one we didn't talk about, but definitely.
Lumps the Clown says he unironically loves Street Fighter.
Yeah, good choice. The first one was a good choice.
Yeah. Let's see. Musty Hobbit says Silent Hill. A lot of people really like the Silent Hill movies. I have not, or the Silent Hill movie. I have not actually seen it.
I saw part of it, but I'm not into horror films, so like it lost me.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So
we got a lot of Super Mario love, believe it or not.
Well, awesome. If you haven't seen Super Mario, again, we totally suggest you go watch it somehow because it is great.
Oh, and of course, Wally says Double Dragon is pretty awful.
Get the fuck out of here, Wally.
It'll always hold a piece of heart. It'll always hold a piece of my heart for being such trash. It truly is a car wreck in the best possible way. Well, man, I watched that movie a couple times as a kid too.
I totally respect your opinion, man, because that's how I feel about some. So, for sure, I get that sentiment for sure. But.
Okay, well, I guess that's it. Appreciate everybody taking a listen, and we will see you for the next one.
Take it easy.